Where does it start?
Well, I think it starts with where we are. The game is at Davis Wade Stadium, and State has just been so Jekyll and Hyde this year. But at home, they're great. They average 40 points a game at home. Will Rogers, very comfortable at home. They run the ball better at home for whatever reason. So when I look at this game, I see that it's at home. I see an Auburn defense that's given up 40 points 4 times this year, including 3 straight games. I like State to be able to move the football on Auburn and put points on the board.
What do you think Mississippi State's health situation is?
It's as good as it's been this year. I expect Jaden Crumedy to play in this game. I expect that he's back from injury. I expect LaQuinston Sharp back.
What was his injury, by the way? I mean, I know they don't talk specific injury. No, I get that, but with Crumedy,
I honestly don't. Oh, with Crumedy?
Yeah.
Okay, Crumedy was a wrist injury that, and now we're getting into the rumor mill that there was it damaged some nerves or something.
Oh,
it was because you think about a D lineman, right? Normally they injure a wrist, they just put a club on and go. This was such that he could not do it. So they've held him out.
When did that happen in the season?
In camp.
Oh, it was preseason. He has not played at all.
Yeah, he hasn't.
Okay.
He hasn't played this year. He could technically redshirt. I don't think that he will because I think he's got an NFL future. Okay. But he could redshirt for State. He's only going to play in these final 4 games. I guess not counting a bowl game if State gets there. But anyway, Crumedy back, Sharp back, and then Dylan Johnson I think is going to play this weekend. He may not be 100%, but I think he's going to give it a go. So State is about as healthy as they've been all year.
And with Dylan Johnson, that's a big deal, right? Because, I mean, those two running backs really complemented each other well. And when the Dylan Johnson injury happened, there were a lot of people that thought it was for the year, like done for the season.
Yeah.
And turned out, obviously, not to be that.
Yeah, there was a lot of torn MCL or something, and that wasn't the case. I think it was just, again, you don't tell us. I think it was just a meniscus, and he's been able to rehab through that pretty quickly. So expect him back, and like you said, with him and Marks, and then Simeon Price has sort of stepped up this against Alabama. He had a decent game. So I think if the rain is there, I think State's going to run the football. Auburn is not good against the run. They're not good against really at anything, but I see State getting into the 40s for this one, the same way they did against Texas A&M and Arkansas.
So you said you think State's going to run the football. By the way, the forecast for Saturday, high of 69, 100% chance of thunderstorms. So that's mainly during the day, though. Scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon, and then into the evening, occasional rain showers, low of 58. So you're probably looking at low 60s at kickoff and just kind of a damp night. So you bring up a great point, right? People have torched Auburn on the ground. Ole Miss ran for a ton. Arkansas ran for a ton. It's not what Mississippi State does, though. So why is it that we think now that's what Mississippi State is going to do?
Oh, I don't think it'll be a ton about running the football, but I think they'll get back to what they did again. What they did against A&M and Arkansas, which is just keep it balanced, run the ball when you can, and run it effectively. I don't think by any stretch State's going to be running the ball 40 times in this game. I don't care if it's a torrential downpour. But they will. I think they will get back to, because they have to. Richard, they have to. They can't. The offense cannot be as one-dimensional as it was against Kentucky and Alabama. There's no way to win doing that. That's what you did in 2020, and when you couldn't win. So it's got to be that way for Mississippi State.
Why do you think they've regressed in terms of pushing it down the field a little bit and running it less? But because the running it more thing was working.
I think it's because, and remember, it's just these 2 games we're talking about. We're just talking about Kentucky and Alabama.
But that's the last 2 they lost them both.
Right. But what I'm saying is Kentucky and Alabama brought more pressure on and loaded the box more than Will Rogers had seen before. You go back and watch A&M, and especially if you go back and watch Arkansas, it's a ton of rush 3 and drop 8. And State was able just to have their way. Kentucky put people in the box. Alabama put people in the box, and they put pressure on Will Rogers, and they did a better job of stuffing the run.
Here's a stat for you. In the SEC, in number of quote-unquote big plays, which is runs that go over 10 yards or passes that go over 20, Mississippi State is 13th in the SEC in big plays with 50. Vanderbilt's last with 48.
Yeah, that's a harrowing stat for Mississippi State fans.
Yeah.
For reference, because always Ole Miss is first at 118.
Whew.
Arkansas second at 90.
That's runs only?
Runs or passes. Runs over 10, passes over 20.
Okay. Does Auburn try to replicate, and personnel-wise, they can't necessarily do it. Do they try to replicate the game plan that Kentucky utilized? And I mean, I guess you could say Alabama as well, but it feels like personnel-wise, they're a whole lot closer to Kentucky than they are Alabama.
Right. They can do that. I think Auburn I think that's what they will do, because that's what's going to be shown on tape, right? They're going to look and see, look, if we just give this guy time to throw, they'll run the football and they'll pick us apart. We've got to pressure him. They've got guys who can pressure the quarterback. Derek Hall, of course, the Gulfport kid. Everybody knows him. They've got some guys who can do that. Yeah, I think it's very fair to assume that Auburn is going to try to put guys in the box and sort of tell Will Rogers, if you can beat us deep, do it. Because he hasn't shown that he can.
Yeah, you're right. He is not. Certainly not consistently, but really just hasn't, period. What about Auburn offensively? Right? I mean, Robbie Ashford doesn't really scare you. He can hurt you with his legs, but, not really. But
State has struggled with...
Go ahead.
State struggled with mobile quarterbacks, though. Jaden Daniels ran wild on them. Malik Hornsby had a lot of success against them in the Arkansas game. Bryce Young, not so much running the ball, but keeping plays alive with his mobility, gave State a lot of fits. So a mobile quarterback is a problem for State so far this year. So yeah, they gotta try to limit Ashford as best they can.
Well, and then the other question is, can Auburn run the ball? Obviously, they've got good backs, but Mississippi State's run defense has been pretty darn good, at least for the most part.